Hello friends, you've stumbled across a short clip from the Daily Switch 2 podcast, which, believe it or not, is a podcast that is about the Switch 2 with new episodes released daily. What will they think of next? And speaking of Odyssey, let's briefly get into the plot. No spoilers here, but clearly this is a prequel to Mario Odyssey, explaining why Pauline loves Donkey Kong so much that she named an entire city and multiple streets after him, despite us previously thinking that he kidnapped her. I'm much happier having Pauline rewritten to have DK as a father figure and mentor rather than some kind of awkward Stockholm syndrome with a Sonic and Princess Elise style bestiality undertone implication. Let's not forget that Donkey Kong was originally based on King Kong, the ape that falls in love with a human woman, kidnaps her, and she eventually falls in love with him. I think rewriting Pauline as a preteen that DK protects and trains, eventually learning to work as a team with her growing to become strong and independent because of her father figure is a much more pleasing setup. And any adult, whether male, female, or otherwise, will gel with the want to both protect and train Pauline. She's adorable and completely endearing. It was a good call to make her female. Without getting into gender politics or pseudoscience, most men will be more inclined to attach themselves to wanting to train and protect the young girl, rather than potentially finding the needy young boy annoying. There is a reason that many male gamers of a certain age cite The Last of Us as their favourite game, and maybe Leon as their first movie, or The Professional, as it was known in America in the 90s. And it's a common trope in media, especially from Japan, but obviously not exclusively, to have a young female character to tag along for the male isekai protagonist. It's an easy storytelling shortcut for the mostly male audience to break down their patriarchal emotional barriers and care about the plot. And of course, it works well for non-males too. And when I say plot, I mean story, and vehemently not plot in inverted commas in the anime sense. Of course, these dynamics do always risk a small percentage of people making it weird, and Pauline being barefoot, it works well to make her appearance vulnerable and innocent, but again, it was a slightly risky choice for a percentage of the mostly anonymous internet, but I really hope that anyone with those kinds of inclinations keeps them completely to themselves, and for once, I'd encourage you not to share your thoughts in the comments. And while I don't believe in censorship, to me, a young Pauline brings out the protective father instinct in a way that will probably make me delete anyone who tries to make edgy 4chan style jokes below the line. Nah, mate, this is not the time and place for that. This is a family show. And also, the dynamic between DK and Pauline is, in my opinion, literally pitch perfect. An achievement in a world where many movies, games, anime, and manga get the balance wrong. So, well done, Nintendo. I don't think they're encouraging anything unsavory. On a lighter and far less controversial note, my main plot and style fear when the very first trailers came out, pre-direct, was that with the redesign to fit the recent Mario movie rather than Donkey Kong Country, was that Nintendo were trying to move away from what Rare created back in '94. When Diddy Kong wasn't even featured in Mario Kart World, boo, these fears increased. But I needn't have worried, no spoilers, but as anyone that watched the direct will know, Diddy, Dixie and Cranky Kong are all present and correct. In fact, Cranky brings with him some interesting implications. He was originally canonized as the Donkey Kong of the original arcade game, meaning he has already kidnapped adult Pauline. But in this game, she's a preteen in a team with his grandson? Though the timeline was already sketchy, as in Donkey Kong 64, it tried to retcon the grandson to son. Are we to believe that Pauline and Lady, in inverted commas, are in fact different characters? Is there some Back to the Future style shenanigans going on? Again, hopefully without the weird intergenerational incestuous implications, please. This is a spoiler-free video, but again, I'll do a whole lore and plot breakdown separately, so subscribe for that if you're the kind of person like me who cares way too much about these things. But yeah, not only do the Rare-created Kongs get to remain canon, this whole game actually feels like a loving spiritual successor to Rare's platform games of both the SNES and the N64. I put Yuka Replayly in my top 10 most anticipated games in my 1 month of Switch 2 video. But honestly, DK Bonanza manages to feel even more like a Rare game than even Playtonic's efforts. And they are the people that created this style in the first place. If you love, say, Banjo-Kazooie, as I do, you will find that this very much feels like a modern extension of what that game could have logically evolved into in a modern world. And it does a better job of making a 3D Donkey Kong Country than DK64 ever did. And hell, the Switch 2 doesn't even require an expansion pack. Considering Donkey Kong is a Miyamoto creation, an absolute creative genius that he is, he's also the guy who asked why Mario would even need to have a story, even in the RPGs? You'll be pleasantly surprised by the story, plots, character progression, etc. here. Again, no spoilers, but even watching the Direct, many people got emotional when watching. Many, myself included, said it gave off vibes of a weepy Pixar movie. And that's not the only way it resembles Pixar. I remarked in my Mario Kart World review that one of the things that impressed me the most was the character animation, facial expressions, proper 12 principles of animation kind of stuff, not simply your typical boned video game rigs. And I said it was a shame that it was mostly wasted in a game where the camera is consistently behind the characters and they're very small on screen, and posited that in a story-based third-person game, especially with cutscenes, it would be far more impressive. Yep, I was right. No notes. These graphics are next level. Literally the most expressive and well-animated cartoon-style video game characters I have ever seen by a very long margin. Sure, something like the excellent Astrobot on PS5 may be slightly more technically impressive from a frame rate, shaders and particle simulation standpoint, and that game is really cute and visually appealing, but from a character perspective, there has never been a game even slightly as impressive as this. And I'd like to feel that I'm at least slightly qualified to talk about this, being that I'm a classically trained animator who trained with several Disney animators and with the legend Don Bluth for 2 years. And for those too young to know who that is, it's worth noting that Anne-Marie from All Dogs Go to Heaven is still seen as a benchmark of how to animate little human girls, used frequently as a reference in both Disney and Pixar to this day, and was used as the original reference point for Lilo in Lilo and Stitch. So for me to say that Pauline is of that kind of level is really saying something. And frankly, the creators of the early Pixar and DreamWorks movies would have killed to have animation tech this good, and the fact that it's running at full speed rather than taking literal hours to render each frame would have blown their minds, as it would have done mine at the time. If you want a Corridor Crew Animators React style video breaking down why it's so good, let me know in the comments. I don't know if that's too niche for my video game audience, though gamers will probably also know Don Bluth from Dragon's Lair and Space Ace, and of course, would I be able to resist the urge to put Daphne or Kimmy in the thumbnails? Who knows? Probably not. Well, that was funny / sad / informative / stupid, wasn't it? Feel free to mentally redact to make that make sense with the clip that you just heard. I don't know what it was. I'm just recording a bumper. But if you enjoyed the clip, please give it a like. If you'd like to hear more, click subscribe, and you can find all the ways to listen to and support the full daily podcast at linktree/dailyswitch2. That's linktr.ee/dailyswitch2. Let's go! Did I sound like I mean that? I do. I really do.